It's time for the Fan Connection presented by AT&T. Every week, we invite you, the listener, to connect with us by submitting your questions. The best way to grow the game of soccer in the U.S. is to keep asking questions and keep talking about this sport we all love. At AT&T, connecting changes everything. And on USLNT, our connections with you will help grow the game. LD, it's not everyone's favorite time of the week, but it is absolutely Jordan's favorite time of the week. Jordan, get on in here and give us some questions.
Hello, JR.
Hello. I don't know if I can follow that. Adam was great.
Adam,
Hey, it was great.
Awesome.
Great. We're going to
So
have great
knowledgeable.
questions after this.
Yeah, we are.
This lights a fire.
Well, let's start with the questions that we've gotten so far
Yep.
already.
Okay.
These are all about promotion and relegation. We're staying with the theme this week.
Okay.
So the first one came via YouTube, someone who's identifying themselves as EGC.
EGC.
Whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
What does your ideal American soccer landscape look like in 50 years? If we aren't
that's a
aiming
great
to
question.
build a pyramid, what are we trying to build? And
That's
are
a
we done
great
growing?
Mm.
Great question.
Mhm.
God, I need time to think about that.
I'm happy to jump in.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I mean, I think the league. I don't know how much more we can grow, just by sheer numbers size, right? I think
You mean teams? Number
teams.
of
Yeah,
teams?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like number of teams.
Mhm.
I think that we have to now 50 years is a long time, right? So I think we have to continue the growth financially, right? In terms of getting the right television deals in place, getting the right roots of certain clubs, because there's with expansion, you have new clubs, right? They didn't exist and they plop down a stadium and create a logo and here we go, right? And people love that. But as we talk about around the world, these clubs and stadiums are institutions and they're the lifeblood of the community. And so, you although I'm currently against promotion relegation in its natural form, I think you begin to 50 years from now within that time frame certainly have to build a pyramid scheme. There has to be a coming together. There has to be a complete overhaul of the youth system, the pay to play model, right, which is at the foundation and the roots, and then that builds all the way up, and it has to be one structure and one tier under the same umbrella. Do we get there economically because of how America works? I'm not sure, but I'd like to think in 50 years we do.
I struggle with this because I believe in a free and open market in America, and I love that. And so I love that concept that you can have a Starbucks across the street from a Phil's coffee, across the street from a Blue Bottle coffee, and everybody just, you either survive or you don't.
Yeah.
My problem is that system, and we'll get into this in another episode, has destroyed youth soccer in our country. So I know we're not talking about youth soccer today, but if it was a free for all and there was MLS and USL and NISA and NASL and some other one and does it dilute soccer as a general statement that we all love and are trying to grow? I don't know. So I'm not trying to sit on the fence here, but I think ideally everybody in the US soccer landscape could come together and do I'm an idealist, I know. Do what's best for the sport. I know that probably will never happen, but that would be my goal.
Okay. Here is a question from Neil via email. How do you feel about so-called yo-yo teams, a label
Mm.
famously put on
Mhm.
teams like West Brom who
Yeah.
go up and down
Yeah.
fairly regularly between the Championship and the Premier League? Is there a value in being that type of team, or is staying competitive in the Championship more beneficial?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues with yo-yo clubs. You talk about Southampton, Norwich, Burnley, Leeds. Not so much Leeds; they were in the wilderness for a while, but West Brom is a great example of that. Look, I think when you own a team, this is the great thing about ownership. You run it how you want, right? And Norwich is the most recent yo-yo team where they found a way to bounce up and not overspend and go back down and then use the parachute payments to be the best team in the championship and then go straight back up. And there was a formula to that. I don't think it's a sustainable formula. I don't think that's something you can do over the course of like a decade. Like that's a 4 or
Tim,
5.
are
Yeah.
teams sorry to jump in. Are I never even thought about it. Do teams purposely do that?
Yeah. I mean, they're not gonna
I
come
never
out and
even thought of that.
they're basically in that gray area of they're not trying to overspend on players to stay in the Premier League because
Hmm.
they know that the win they can double dip, right? So
Yeah,
they know
yeah.
they go down and get the parachute payment, then they go up and get the promotion payment. So um
Huh.
and quite frankly, it's actually not the worst business
No,
model,
it's actually not,
you know.
but it's risky.
But it's risky. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's very risky because as we know, for every I just named 5 yo-yo clubs. I could name 550. Yeah, I could name
Mhm.
50 teams that it don't work for. So yeah.
Mhm. Hmm.
Just a follow-up question. Is it a if promotion and relegation were to be adopted by any league, is that position, that those yo-yo teams, is that gonna happen in any league?
That's a good question.
Good question.
I mean, yeah, I could see teams yeah, like, look, there are with ownership, you get a vast spectrum of people who really care about winning, and there's people who's like, "I could care less. My valuation's going up. I'm trying to break even or make some cash." You could absolutely see some people saying, "Let's just toe this line," for sure.
Yeah, because being because to Landon's question to me, being a yo-yo club isn't you're not getting lucky. You're not like, oh, we were just really good this year and we went up, and we're really really stinking the Premier League, so we went down. Like that's a planned model. So it's not about luck. Like, oh, we just happen to be really good this year. So yeah,
And a lot of those clubs have a lot of trophies, right, from the championship as a
yes,
result of that.
yes, correct.
Championship trophies, baby.
Mhm.
Those count for a lot.
Okay, this question is from MNB via YouTube. In a two-tier MLS, if you remove the financial penalty of relegation and split revenues relatively equally across all teams from both divisions,
Mm.
would that remove the hesitations of promotion and relegation?
But then what's the
Yeah. Then
incentive
what's
to
the
be in
incentive?
the first let's call it MLS 1 versus MLS? What would
Mhm.
be the incentive? I don't know if there's
Right.
prestige,
It's
incentives
not.
or whatever, but like what's the incentive if there's no financial what are you
Yeah.
getting?
The prestige, to your point, is when you go to the Premier League, you get the money to bring in international or World Cup type stars.
Yeah.
They cost money, right? You get the money from the television revenue. I don't know if I necessarily agree. It's always about finances. Otherwise, it's not that
Mhm.
exciting. Like, I'm not really that interested in a relegation battle where the team goes down, but they can still pretty much buy the same players, and like that then just becomes almost evenly
Mhm.
matched leagues. The whole
Mhm.
point the whole point of a first tier and a second tier is that they're not evenly matched. They're head and
I
shoulders
guess
above the
though,
other.
like you're right. So I'm just thinking out if it was the Premier League and the Championship, I mean, there's obviously no opportunity to be in the Champions League. You can't win the league. You can't. So maybe there's ways you can create it. It's an interesting idea. Maybe you just make that gap much smaller in the financial differences between the leagues so that it's, not so stark. Interesting idea.
All right, that's it, guys. Thank you.
All right, JR,
Thanks, Jer.
thank you very much.